Good morning, Gems. Happy Monday. Today I want to talk to you about the ant and the elephant. So what the heck is that? So what I'm really talking about when I talk about the ant and the elephant is your brain. So many of us have probably heard the statistic that you only use about 5 to 10% of your brain. So this is actually what accounts for your conscious brain. This is logical thought and decision making. And so this conscious part of our brain is represented by this tiny little ant, right? Because it's only 5 to 10%. The other 90% is not being used, but it's our subconscious brain. So that's what I'm calling the elephant. So why is this important? So your ant and elephant, your conscious and subconscious brain, are constantly in a civil war. So the ant is what is responsible for saying, I want to go diamond. But the elephant is the part of your brain that is actually telling yourself whether that's achievable or not. So we're really, really good at training our ant. Growing up, that's what we've been training our entire lives. We've been training our ant to do the logical things that we need to do, whether we want to do them or not. So your ant is the reason that when your alarm clock goes off in the morning, you get up and make it to work. Whether you want to or not, you get to work because that's what your ant is trained to do. Now, our elephant is what we need to focus on. We're not good at training our elephant because our elephant is being fed images. It's been fed information our entire lives, and it's basically on autopilot. But we have the power to train our elephant, and if we're not training it, someone else is. And the way that we speak to our elephant, our subconscious mind, is through images. That's the language it understands. So that's why advertisement companies will show you commercials instead of telling you all of the facts and figures about a product. So for example, Coca-Cola. If Coke was creating an advertisement that spoke to your ant, the conscious logical side of your brain, it would say, hey, drink our sugar water that's going to cause you diabetes, that will rot your teeth. And if you throw a nail in it and come back a couple days later, it's completely dissolved. Why don't you drink that? It's awesome. Instead, Coca-Cola runs the ad that shows somebody cracking open a Coke, and all of a sudden there's a party, all of their friends are there, everybody's skinny, smiling, happy, having a good time, right? That is training your elephant to want a Coke. Your elephant goes, runs off and buys a Coke. Or the next time you sit down at a family dinner, you think, oh man, we're having a good time. You know, I deserve a Coke. This is just going to make it perfect, right? So on the same token, we need to create those advertisements for ourselves. This is partially, side note, this is why I stopped watching television over a year ago, because they're feeding me information, my subconscious, they're feeding my elephant and training it whether I want it to or not. So we need to train our own elephant by creating these images, because the cool thing about our elephant, the cool thing about our subconscious mind is it cannot tell the difference between reality and vivid imagination or vivid images. Okay, so we can train our elephant by visualization and by showing it pictures. So, for example, here's a great example of. Ultimately, what we want is our ant and our elephant to align. We want the actions that our ant is taking, which we know how to do. We need to train ourselves to follow up with people, to talk to people about Plexus, to invite people to meetings, to get ourselves to meetings, even though we may not want to, we may be tired, et cetera, right? We talk about that all the time, the things that you need to be doing. You can very easily train your ant to do those things, okay? So what I want to focus on is training your elephant to align with those same things. Because if you're doing all of those actions, but your elephant's focus is all over the place, then you're not setting yourself up for success. When the actions that you do, your ant side of your brain does, following up and all those things, align with your true passion and the elephant's drive, then the ant just hops on the elephant's back and rides through to success. Does that make sense? So, example of this. In October, last October, for leaders retreat, there was a contest, just like this convention contest that's going on right now. A little late in the game, I decided that I wanted to push for the prize of the $2,000 check, the giant check on stage, right? So logically, the ant side of my brain set to work, right? I started following up with anybody and everybody. I was offering incentives. I was working with my team, asking them to help me push, doing all sorts of things, all of the logical things, the actions that I have already trained my ant to do. They kind of went into overdrive because there was a time crunch, but my ant set to work, right? Now, at the same time, because this was almost an impossible task, I started training my elephant. I was directing my elephant, casting the vision for my elephant. Every single time I sat down to do a follow-up or to talk to somebody, every time I laid my head down on my pillow, I literally imagined myself. I saw in my mind's eye myself standing on the stage at Leaders Retreat holding a giant check. Had I been somewhere around somebody that already had one of those checks, I would have asked to take a picture of myself holding it and physically had an image to look at. It doesn't really matter as long as you create the image vividly in your mind, because your mind's eye doesn't know the difference between reality and vivid images. Okay, so either you create that image in your mind of what you want, the lifestyle you want to achieve, where you want to be, if it's quitting your job, if it's traveling the world, if it's driving a Lexus, you need to see it in your mind and run that ad over and over again. Even better, a step above, is to get a physical picture of that. So if you want to be Emerald, if you want to be driving this Plexus Lexus, you need to get your booty down to a Lexus dealership, sit in the car and have someone take your picture. And then don't just put it on a vision board and stick it in the closet, but put it somewhere where you are looking at it every single day. If that's your nightstand, so you see it every morning when you wake up and every evening before you go to bed. If it's your steering wheel, so you're staring at it while you're driving all day long. If it's your computer at work, whatever it is, you need images constantly being fed into your elephant, because when you're not working on training your subconscious, other things are coming in, other images are influencing your elephant, and you need to take control of that. Okay, so ultimately you need to work on training your elephant so that your elephant and your ant align. You obviously also need to train your ant if you're not there yet, if you haven't taken the time and the effort to train your elephant to do follow-up calls and learn the skills, because we're all still learning. I'm constantly learning and improving those skills. So you learn the skills to improve your ant, the ant side, the logical, conscious action and thinking, but you at the very same time, and almost more importantly, is to train your elephant using images and visualization. All right, I might do a whole other video on visualization, because that's a really cool thing, and walk you guys through how to create a vision, and it would be a document that you actually read morning and night and make it very vivid. But we'll talk about that later because this is getting long. So be on the lookout for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. Be aware, just be aware of the images that you're feeding to your elephant, whether you're doing it on purpose or not, especially when you're watching television. What images are being fed into your brain? All right. I love you all. Go Plexus.